You lived like a fool, and now you have come to a fool's end. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me today. I do truly appreciate it. And I have been treated to not only a beautiful new addition to my book collection, but a beautiful new addition to my list of books that I have read and loved. And that is with Mario Puzo's 1967, The Godfather. And I could start the video by saying something like, he's a businessman. I'll make him an offer he can't refuse. But I would never do anything like that because that's been done so much. I had to say it though, and that was just my way of trying to fit it in without acting like I don't know how that works. But this is a book, an iconic book. It spawned an iconic movie, a movie that some say is the greatest ever made. Absolutely phenomenal with an unbelievable cast. And I'd seen the movie years and years ago, probably a couple times, at least twice. I never read the book. It actually never even occurred to me to read the book, sadly as that may be. But when Suntup Editions came out with this unbelievable limited edition version of The Godfather, also signed by the director of the movie The Godfather and The Godfather Part 2, Francis Ford Coppola, I couldn't resist. Such an iconic book, such an iconic movie, and they're merged together, signed by the director of the movie. I couldn't resist, but it also means I had to read the book. And man, I must say, I am so glad I did. Right off the bat, this is one of my favorite books that I've ever read. I've got a lot of books that I would say are one of my favorites, but this is absolutely one of my favorite books that I've ever read. And you may already know the story. If you've seen the movie, you already know the basic story. The movie was very faithful to the book. Not completely. Most cases it wasn't faithful because it couldn't be. It would be too long. So they had to trim quite a bit of stuff from the book to make the movie. And the stuff they trimmed made sense. But that stuff in the book, to me, is what made the book so great. Made it better than the movie. And that's why it's so hard to make a movie from a book and have the movie be equal to or greater than the book. Because usually you have to cut so much. And some of the stuff you cut is great stuff. And that was the case here. And we'll talk about some of that stuff vaguely. I don't want to spoil stuff too much, but it is an old book and an old movie. And I feel like it's hard to tell the story without telling the story in a way. But just to go back to the beginning, this is a book that spans a large period of time. But essentially, you have Michael Corleone, and this is not the way the book's laid out detail by detail, but Michael Corleone is the son of the head of the biggest crime family or the biggest mafia family in America, really. He's the son of Vito Corleone, the Don, or Don Corleone. But Michael Corleone has served in World War II. He has gone to college, I think it was Dartmouth College, where he's currently attending school. And he's got a girlfriend, Kay Adams. They met at school, and now they're going to attend Michael's sister's wedding. His sister, Connie, is getting married. And so they're going to attend the wedding, and that's where the movie starts. The book has some additional stuff before that wasn't included in the movie, and I think it was great stuff. It was backstory. If you watch the movie, you see several characters. Bonaceri, Johnny Fontaine. You see, I can't remember in the movie. I think it did. You have, I think so. Yeah, you had the baker, Nazarene, the baker. And you have some of these people going to the Don at the wedding asking for favors. In the book, you get their backstory. And you actually get their backstory, and then each one of them pays off at one point or another later on in the book. Some of them, like Johnny Fontaine, you have a much larger story arc that tells a whole lot more extra stuff than it was in the movie. And I like that. I like this story. I've heard people say that his story was kind of an accessory or unimportant to the plot. But I liked it. I don't think every story needs to be something that necessarily furthers the plot. I wanted to know how things turned out for these people, because the book made them characters that I cared about. The book, that's one thing that Mario Puzo did here, created a lot of characters that I cared about, both good and bad, characters that I wanted to see get what they deserve, whether it be bad stuff happen to them, or get what they deserve in terms of things working out for them, or just maybe getting what I hoped they might get one way or the other. But Michael is at his sister's wedding, and he and Kay are sitting there, and Michael helps to tell the story of a lot of these folks, to kind of introduce them, whether it be his brother Sonny. He gets to kind of tell you a little bit about Sonny. So in this case, it might be a case of they're telling you, not showing you. And a lot of times people will use that as a way to insult an author or insult a book. But I will say this, sometimes telling is better. Sometimes telling the story is a way to get you the information you need without you having to try to intuit it or assume it or even not know it. So sometimes these info dumps are great if they're done in the right way. And so having Michael Corleone and his girlfriend Kay, and her asking about who's that guy, and Michael would tell about him, some of his backstory, how he matters to the family or to his father. And so he would do that with guys like Luca Brasi, Sonny Corleone, his oldest brother, Fredo Corleone, his brother, Tom Hagen. You get some of that backstory. And you're introducing these characters and their backstory in a very unique way, a neat way. Not necessarily unique, but in a good way that I really liked, as well as getting the story of Michael and Kay and all that kind of stuff told in the process. But when you get to the actual meetings of these people with the Don, that's pretty much why we're at this wedding right now, is because these people need to ask the Don of a favor. Vito Corleone need to ask a favor of him. And the Sicilian, I guess, tradition is he can't turn down a favor on the day of his daughter's wedding. So there are a lot of people waiting to see him. And he sees them. And in the book, you get a lot of good description of what he's thinking and why he does what he does. And I think when I'm comparing book to movie, which it's hard not to do with this story, that is where the book really shines. Not only the chance to develop characters, to give you a larger portion of their story arc, to help give the ending of this particular phase of their story, but it also does a great job of explaining why people say what they say, why they do what they do, and sometimes what's going to happen as a result of what they say or what they do. So the Don has his meetings with the different people that are waiting for him. Each one, he tells them that he'll give them what they need, and he'll remind them that he may at some point come asking them for a favor as a friend. He makes a big point throughout the book that the Don does not make threats to anybody. Threatening people that make threats to him are vile. He has no respect for people who make threats. He actually makes offers. He makes opportunities for folks, and he has to find ways to make them these offers and give them these opportunities. And as part of it, they know that bad things can happen if they don't treat them with respect and find a way to make a deal with them. And that's just the way he operates, and it's been very successful. We'll also find out later on that of his sons, Sonny, the real bad dude, the warrior, the killer, he doesn't have that type of subtlety, that type of almost manipulation or way of handling and dealing with people. That his other son, Fredo, definitely does not have that. But his youngest son, probably the least likely to be the successor of the Don, the head of the family, the head of the largest crime organization in the country, Michael Corleone. He's the smallest, he's the most soft-spoken. They even say that he is not very manly, especially growing up. He's not manly like the Sicilians respect the manliness in this book here, is the way it's described. He has none of those traits, but he has his father's mind. And we see that, and we see that the book really helps to show how Michael has developed into somebody that has learned from his father, put his father's concepts, philosophies, experiences, teachings to good use, but also implements some of his own methodology that is very successful as well. But we're at this meeting, and after the meeting is finished, there's a character named Sollozzo, Tom Hagen, who was played by Robert Duvall in the movie, an actor that I do love. He's also a character that I think is so much more important in the book, so much better. In the movie, he kind of felt more like a lackey, a guy that just gets told what to do and goes and does it. Where in the book, he's sort of the right hand of the Don. He knows what the Don wants. He knows what the Don means when the Don gives a look, when the Don makes a suggestion or asks a question. He knows what it takes to get things done. He doesn't have to be told. He knows, and he offers advice. He's one of the few that has the ability to offer the advice and to speak frankly and to get the respect. And he's not Sicilian. So he's replacing their tradition is the consigliere, that right-hand advisor, legal sort of person as well to the Don, has to be a Sicilian. Tom Hagen is, I think he said he was German-Irish. He's a part of the family because in the book, Sonny Corleone, the one of the Don's sons, finds him on the street, essentially befriends him, brings him into the house, has no family to take care of him. He has an eye infection. The Don lets him stay in the house, gets him treated, and almost, not exactly raises him as a son, but raises him as a member of the household anyway. But he has a lot of respect for him and a lot of love for him, we'll find out. But this person, Sollozzo, they refer to as the Turk. He wants to have a meeting with the Don, and the Don knows this is going to be a very difficult meeting because he knows he's going to have to say no. He makes that pretty clear. He knows he's going to have to say no to this guy. He knows this is a dangerous guy. This Turk wants to start selling drugs, narcotics, in the Don's area. And the Don is pretty clear that part of his success is the willingness of the police, the politicians, to work with him. Now, they work with him fee for exchange. He's got them on the payroll, but he's got these relationships with these politicians, with these police officers. They have to maintain an image also to the public. So them helping the Don with gambling, which most people really don't have much of an issue with. Helping the Don with gambling is one thing. Helping the Don with narcotics, that's a whole different story. The public isn't going to put up with that. Elected officials have to worry about the public. The police department, they're not going to put up with that. So the Don knows that getting involved in narcotics is probably going to ruin some of his greatest assets for what he does, to get away with doing the things he does. Anyway, Sollozzo has his meeting with the Don, and the Don has to tell him no in the most respectful way possible. That he doesn't have a problem with Sollozzo doing what he wants to do. He just can't be a part of it because it would ruin what he has. And in the process, Sollozzo tells him, man, you'll make a lot of money. You're gonna make millions on your investment. And they get to the bottom of it that really what they need is the Don's contacts with the police, with the politicians, and the Don's trying to illustrate that I will lose that stuff if I get involved with this narcotics business here. A big mistake is made. Sonny Corleone is in the meeting, the Don's son, and he makes a slip asking a question that shows the Turk, Sollozzo, that perhaps Sonny doesn't agree with the Don, questioning his authority. And this gives him an idea. There's an opening. There's a gap in this family. Getting Vito Corleone out of the way, Sonny is the natural next in line to take over the family. Sonny wants to work with me. Vito doesn't. So what happens next is they try to kill the Don. They try to kill Vito. They fill him full of holes at a fruit stand outside his home. Shoot him, leave him laying. It's a miracle he doesn't die. Sonny, being the warrior type that he is, he goes and declares war on the Tartaglias who are in business with Sollozzo. He declares war on them. The Don doesn't die, though. The Don lives, but in the process, because Sonny didn't go the way they expected him to go, he turns all warrior on him and goes on a killing spree, starts up a war among the families, which all the other families do not like. They don't like it at all. It's messing up everything for everybody. They go and they kill Sonny. Now, the Don is recovering. He's not fully recovered, but he finds out Sonny was dead, and he thinks always about business. So his first thing that he says is, you know what? We're going to let it go. We got to stop the war. We got to try to get back to where we were. Tries to make a deal, and does. He agrees to concede. I'll help you with your narcotics. I don't want to be involved in any of the business, but I will help with the politicians and stuff like that, you to do your narcotics things. And ultimately, this makes everybody see that the Corleones are weak. And at the same time, as this goes on, Michael Corleone, the youngest, the smallest, the least imposing, least impressive of all of his sons, starts to take over. As Vito goes into a semi-retirement, he starts to take over, and people respect that even less because he's not his father, is what they keep saying. But Michael knows not only does he use his father for advice, he understands his father, but he also has such wit, such an ability to predict what's going to happen, to come up with a plan, to address what's going to happen, and have success on the outcome, getting ultimately what he wants, making the next step, making it successful, knowing where the risks are going to be. And he basically keeps telling everybody there's going to be coming a time, I think it was in about a year, when I'm going to have to make a major move. And that's going to be a big risk and a rough time. But after that point, things are going to be so much better. He plans to take the business to Las Vegas, open up hotels, gambling in Las Vegas, make it legal, legit. At the same time, they've already worked on stuff trying to get movies in Hollywood, and this was part that was cut out of the movie. Johnny Fontaine, the singer/actor who needed the favor, that ended up getting a horse's head cut off. I'll get back to that in a second. But they end up setting him up in Hollywood as a producer with big-time financing, making big-time movies. At the same time, he ends up getting set up with a doctor who helps Michael Corleone get his face fixed after he gets his face bashed in, essentially, by the chief of police earlier in the book. And that doctor also helps to identify the problem with Johnny Fontaine, why he can't sing anymore, helps to get him fixed, helps to move him on. So this is an example of how those story arcs are expanded and you get to see them to completion. And Johnny Fontaine runs the entertainment for the hotels. It's all for me, a very great part of the story. It's chopped off for the movie, but I love it in the book. Now, going back for just a moment to the scene of the horse, the iconic scene that everybody talks about when they talk about The Godfather. I always had a problem with that scene in the movie. I could never figure out how they could get this massive head of a horse under the covers with blood all over the guy, with blood all over Waltz, the covers back on, and him not wake up. I could never figure that out. I had to in order to suspend disbelief, I had to tell myself, well, maybe they drugged him while he was asleep. They tranked him, and he never knew it. He didn't wake up, and now he wakes up to this. But that wasn't there, so I had to psychologically put it there. The book made it far more believable. Instead of the horse being under the covers at the foot of the bed, it was laying on the covers at the foot of the bed. Now that I can dig. I can see how a couple of guys who's made arrangements with security already can sneak into a room, set something down on the foot of a bed, and then sneak out undetected. So the scene in the book, slightly different than the scene in the movie, exact same context, but it was done in a way in the book that to me does make more sense and makes it feel more satisfying, easier for me to buy in and say, wow, and to move on. But the imagery in the movie has probably a little more impact as he's pulling the covers off and he sees that he's covered in blood himself and he pulls the covers back for the big reveal of what he's seen. So I can get it. I would just rather have the more rational explanation than to wonder how this could have possibly happened that way. But Michael wants to take the family legit. He also knows all of the old tricks, and he knows he's got to do some very, very bad stuff to be able to get there, because they've lost so much respect with the other families. They want to kill Michael. They want to shut him down and take over everything. Michael wants to set up Clemenza and Tessio with their own families in there and their own businesses and stuff, and they know that they'll never be successful. They'll be crushed if they don't take necessary steps. And we're getting into some spoiler stuff here. Don Corleone, Vito Corleone, made a deal with all the other families. He will never seek revenge for anything that had happened. He will never try to find out who did what or who was responsible for what. But as Michael takes over the family, he didn't make that promise. He's quiet about it. He hints to people like Tom Hagen that maybe he's going to have to fix these wrongs, right these wrongs that have happened, these killings, these other things, attempted killings. But there comes a point in the book where they go off. Everybody, he says we've taken care of all the family business. Everybody who has wronged the family, the Corleone family, whether it be killing, attempted killings, taking over parts of the business, encroaching on territories, every one of them dies. And it's set up flawlessly. The deaths, the killings, it's all set up. The movie takes it and puts it in with a scene where Michael is serving as the godfather for the baptism of his nephew or niece, one of Connie's children. In the book, he also does that, but he doesn't do it at the church because he knows they're trying to kill him. There's a plot to try to kill him. And one of his men, Tessio, has set it up to try to get that done. That's also part of the family business, taking out Tessio. But in the book, he says it's got to be done at the mall where they live. All these houses and stuff they call the mall. It's got to be there because he can't risk going out in the public. They're going to try to kill him. He has to stay safe until all the family business is taken care of. It's done in such an amazing way in the book. It's also done in a great way in the movie because of the way it looks. He's in the church. They're doing the ceremony. Meanwhile, all these things are being set up, and then all these killings are taking place, and then the baptism is completed. It's like magic in the movie. But some of the best parts of the book, again, were cut out of it. There is a character in there that is developed named Albert Neary. He is an ex-cop who ends up working for the family, shows so much potential, and in fact, Michael says he's going to be my Luca Brasi. Luca Brasi was the baddest fella walking the streets for his father. In fact, Vito Corleone said essentially he had several things that made him successful. One of them was Luca Brasi. When he needed people killed, when he needed stuff done against all odds, Luca Brasi was his man. And Michael says Albert Neary is going to be my Luca Brasi. And he's almost completely cut out in the movie. You see a guy wearing a cop's uniform doing the things he did, a few of the things he did in the book. You get none of the backstory. You get none of what makes him so bad. Somebody that a guy like Michael would lean on, it's all cut out. But all the family business is taken care of. And then they start moving everything to Vegas to go legit, hotel business. It works out so well. So much stuff that you find out. You're finding out about it now. You're also finding out that they had been planning it for long periods of time. So sometimes stuff is revealed to the reader after the fact. And sometimes stuff is revealed to the reader before the fact. It's kind of neat the way it works. But the book sews all this up in such a cool way. There's a spot earlier in the book where Michael's mother, Vito Corleone's wife, explains to Kay Adams that she goes to church every day because her husband won't. She goes to church every day to pray for his soul, that maybe God will accept him into heaven. And the book ties this all up nice and neat with Michael and Kay in the end. And the movie kind of leaves that out. So that's, I think, while it's a great movie, they cut some really magic stuff, some neat things that I really liked. And I think, again, that's what happens when you convert book to movie. Even if you make it a 3-hour movie or a 4-hour movie, you're still going to have to cut some stuff. It's a matter of what do we cut and what do we keep. But The Godfather, this book was phenomenal. I'll give it 5 stars out of 5 stars without hesitation. And I'd say what it has is character development and story development. And it gives us multiple arcs. You got the big arc, the big overarching arc of Michael and Vito, their family, and how that family changes from what it is to what it becomes. But you have all these other pieces that are parts of the story. And in the book, you get to see their story come to a conclusion as well. It's several different stories. Just as simply as the young lady that Sonny was having an affair with that started at Connie's wedding early in the book, and you see her also early in the movie. Well, she gets her arc as well. You find out where she ends up, what she does, and how things work out for her. So a lot of this stuff is tied in so well. But the character development and the characters in this book make it shine. I love characters. You can give me a great story, and I'm kind of, You give me great characters, and I'm in. And this book gave me a lot of them. A lot of great characters. Again, you don't love them all, but I care about every one. Whether it be love, hate, interest, a lot of characters that I really like. So when I'm done reading this book, I feel like, what now? Now what? Because this was so great, I don't want to leave. And that's where the movies really come into play. You get more. At least you get 2 more. And honestly, I've never finished The Godfather Part 3. Shame on me. But I will. I'm going to watch it. I'm actually right now watching The Godfather Part 2 again. I've seen it a couple times, just like The Godfather. I'm watching it right now. You know, with life, sometimes you watch 20 minutes in a movie in a day, and it's a good thing. It's like an accomplishment. And that's where I'm at right now in this life. I'll watch 20 minutes tonight, maybe 30 tomorrow. Maybe I won't be able to watch any of the day after that. But I'll get to it. And then I'll also get to The Godfather Part 3. Book-wise, I wish there was more, and there is more. I don't understand how all the books work. But Mario Puzo wrote another one set in this world. I think it's the earlier life of Vito after he's had kids, but they're still young. I think it's set there. I want to read that one. And there are others written by other people that I think tells more of that story as well. I'm not sure how much of those I want to get into, but I like this story so much. I want more. I want more of these characters. For me, it's not the gangster thing. I haven't even watched The Sopranos, but it's the characters. You can give me characters in any setting that ever existed or ever may exist, whether it be the Old West, whether it be the colonial era of the United States, whether it be somewhere in a land far, whether it be somewhere in a land far, far away, whether it be in space, it doesn't matter. You give me characters and I'm interested and I'm into these characters, I want more. Anyway, I can think of no more lies to tell, so thank you for your time. I do truly appreciate it, and c'est la vie. Baby. Doo-doo. K. Budge.